Napoleon, thank you once again. Training session number 4. Today we are going to focus on prep stations and open face booths. So definitely had a few questions in regards to them. I'll let you go ahead and control the board. Let me hold on a second, try to get this, get the screen share going. All right, there we go. So, yep, like I was saying, we're going to do prep stations today and the open face. So where would you like to start there, Napoleon? Where should I go?
We should go to prep stations first.
Prep stations, all right. I'm assuming the vector.
Yes, so if people are navigating through the page as they're talking with potential clients, as they notice, we put the vector as the first one on top. Similar like the automotive booths or cargo booths, we will have a vector semi-downdraft prep station. The vector semi-downdraft prep is a ideal unit because you don't have to do any foundation work for the exhaust or um, have side walls with exhaust on the length of the prep stations. So if you notice this picture here, we build our prep stations um, very different, a lot different than other companies. Um, the way we do it is we have hip lighting. Then the other spray booth companies do flat lighting on the roof. So we try to angle that light to focus on the vehicle or the part that you're spraying. That's the biggest highlight on the prep stations, the hip lighting at an angle.
Prep station
The
is usually going to be associated with sanding and buffing and things of this nature, right? So it's going to create a lot more dust. Um,
correct.
I've always had that question. Why not the walls? What is the point of having all these curtains and this kind of setup?
The flexibility of being able to come in and out or bring a vehicle or apart from mostly a all three sides of the walls of the boot of the prep. So big take is the flexibility. During the day, you have the operations of the curtain, and they're operating the unit. And at night, you bring in all the cars, and you don't have a wall that's blocking um, from potentially bringing more cars in.
Okay, got it. So the hip lighting on the top to be able to shine down. Okay, very cool.
We also want to highlight that the ceiling filters are the same blanket design filter that we use in our spray booths or our cargo booths. So we try to use one dimension for for our ceiling filters on top. Other spray booth companies do a 20 by 20 inlet filter. That 20 by 20 inlet filter is what you will see on an echo booth on the doors. Here we all our booths are built with blanket style inlet filters. It's a little bit more expensive to build, but it's a better result to the client and itself because he gets a better finish since he has a blanket style filter. So the sample that I use is think about your in the office, you got those ceiling tiles that are 2 by 4 times how big your office is. If you could imagine on all those 4 corners of that ceiling tile, air and dust particles are coming through those corners because the ceiling tile is just drop in place. That's the same thing with those 20 by 20 filters that are just dropped on top. Okay. So with us,
So sorry to
Okay,
cut you off, but so basically what this is doing is that it is pushing the air down. It's pushing air down from the top and then it's being sucked in through the back is the idea.
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And by doing that, the operator is able to spray any primer, sand down any of the primer, or do any spot work in this prep station. So it's an extra tool or an extra wrench without the expense of buying the whole kit or buying the whole set, like a booth. So prep station is ideal as a secondary purchase option for a secondary booth or prep.
What kind of companies look for these kinds of prep stations? I mean, obviously automotive, but what style of automotive? I mean, is this like manufacturing or something?
The style of companies before 5 years ago was um, exclusive automotive, collision, heavy production shops, the ones that are trying to push out 6 units and they want to get an extra 2 units per day to make it a total of eight. So they want to buy a secondary unit that doesn't cost like a spray booth will cost. So a lot of those production shops will buy this unit. Um, what we're noticing now as a trend is detail shops will buy this unit. Uh, Heavy detail or auto recondition shops will buy this unit. The people that do vehicle wraps that are wrapping the vehicle with the decal or the special color will buy this unit. Um, People that are buffing the cars, they'll buy this unit. So now it's kind of a more open market. I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Um, so I didn't see too much of a dimension. I can see here the uh the curtains, they come standard, right? This it's not like this is a curtain that they have to buy somewhere else. Those curtains and everything that you would more or less see here would be part of the purchase of a vector prep.
Yeah, so one thing that I wanna was several things I wanna highlight in this picture is this unit is taller. It's 12 feet taller. Um, so if you take that measurement from the bottom rail of that filter all the way to the top of that ceiling filter, that's 12 feet. Our standard unit is 9 feet high, 9 feet. So this one is taller, okay? And this picture also has 2 units side by side. So on the auto prep, you have your echo prep, which we could talk about after this, but then you have your vector prep. The vector prep, if you notice, is 24 feet, 27 or 30. As far as the length, 14 feet wide, as you see that standard, and 9 feet high, okay? It does come in with a 30-inch fan. The 24 comes with a 2 horse and the 8 lights. The 27 comes with a 3 horse and 10 lights, okay? And the 30 footer comes with 12 lights.
Okay, got it. So this one is actually a modified one just because it's usually only 9 feet tall. What that's the inside depth, right? What would be the outside on a
Depth and height, it increases by 2 feet.
2 feet?
The depth and height, okay?
Okay, perfect.
So that one thing, since you have it on the price sheet right now,
Uh-huh.
you notice you have vector 24 feet, 27 and 30.
Yes.
And then the bottom one is vector T. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask
Vector
about that.
vector T is the tower design. If you go back to the picture, the vector prep has the exhaust filters in the back wall. Okay.
Okay.
The vector T has the exhaust filters in the corners where you are able to bring the vehicle from the front and drive it across the back side of the wall.
Okay. But there's still only two towers. It's not like it would be.
Correct.
Okay. And they would also those would practically be 9 feet tall, 2 feet wide as far as the plenum per se.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay.
And when I mean by towers, can we go to the um, auto standard
Sure. Auto vector
or cargo?
cargo. Sure.
Should be under. You see those towers on the picture? Actually, it was on the vector, but I'm sorry. So it's hard to see on picture number two, if you can, please.
Yep.
If you picture having the prep station along the back side of this spray booth, and you will have the towers in the corners, like where the doors are located.
I'm pretty sure I have it in my phone somewhere. You've sent us pictures in the past regarding. Let me see if I can find it really quickly.
That's an echo prep, the Delta. If you don't have them, I could definitely get them to you, okay?
No, I'm pretty sure I've seen them before. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just that we've dealt with a lot of pictures recently.
Right there.
There it is. Okay.
So
So,
the
good.
so those will be the towers on a vector prep. It will be one per side, and the doors could be an option that could be added because depending where this prep station is gonna go, the client will want doors on this, or he just wants curtains. So this gives them the ability of prepping, making it more of an assembly line. They're prepping, they're driving it across into the spray booth. If you could go to the stealth prep, I'll show you what I mean. On the prep station, stealth prep, yeah. So
Oh, okay.
this picture here, we blacked out the background.
Mhm.
This picture here has vehicles drive in from that black section behind, and they're driving in. They're being prepped, uh, masked, and then they drive straight into the spray booth. So that's back in the price sheet when you see the vector prep um, and vector prep T, that's the difference. That unit could be drive through.
And we're roughly looking at about an extra $2,000. It's not even that much.
Right.
Mhm.
Depending where this unit is gonna go or how the client has it laid out, it just sees that price difference.
I get it. Okay. So all in all, the Vector T is always going to be towers and with the option of a drive-through by just being able to put those plenums standing up as opposed to
That's
laying down
exactly,
across the. Got it. Okay.
exactly.
Nonetheless, it's pushing air from as far as the vectors pushing air from the top. Actually, that was I guess that's another quick question I had. If um if it is pushing air from the top, usually what would be considered a vector is a semi down. It's coming from the front. Now, is this air coming from all the entire roof, or is it just a section of the roof?
Yeah, so if you zoom in on those pictures, it's coming in from the top 20 feet in. So pretty much these four sections.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see the inlet filters are here,
Mhm.
and the back section is solid panel. So
Now, when you're dealing with a prep station such as this, does it also require a lot of the permitting and back and forth with all the additional uh, installation? Because here I see duct kit, I see powder coating, and I see controls. Don't see fire suppression, or well, I guess I see a fire suppression system on here, which are here. So I guess they do get the fire suppression.
they do. So by code or by your fire authority code, local district, what happens is that those that fire chief or fire marshal will request that you put a fire suppression system in it because it has already a roof. So, like, give you an example, if in an industrial building, there's sprinklers that are already protecting whatever's inside that building. Once you put a roof over it, that water is gonna, you're pretty much created a canopy effect where there's water's not gonna fall into whatever's burning inside. So the local fire authority will say, yes, I need a fire suppression or a sprinkler system. And some other fire captains will say, well, since you're already prepping in here, you're not spraying any VOC or chemical material, we don't need a fire system. So it's by code basis or case by case basis.
Got it. I always figured because there was no walls, it would be less of a logistical thing, but apparently still not yet. Um, okay. Well, I definitely got a better understanding of this vector here. What other question might I have?
So again, this picture is showing two units side by side.
Mhm.
Normally it will be like on the, it will be one unit, so it will be one vehicle. This one we just parked it at an angle, but it would just be one vehicle per unit.
All right. Very cool. So that would be the vector prep. I guess we can move on to the delta.
Yes, sir.
And I guess we're looking at the same style, except, uh, well, I really don't know the difference between if I'm looking at a vector or if I'm looking at a delta. How would I know?
So if you click on the picture number two,
Yep.
you see how now the hip lighting is at an angle on the backside. So it's kind
Yes.
of facing to the vehicle, and the width of it is 14 feet by the 24 or 27. And now we have a back section wall that is the length of the prep station. If you look at here is where the spray booth is. So they will typically bring in the car from coming in from this angle, prep, and then they will drive to the booth. We had this request of building this type of prep station because of the way you're bringing in the vehicle. A lot of the clients have more narrow shops where the booth they tuck in on a corner and they don't have the width to put a vector prep, so they will go with a delta unit. Again, the delta has the gables running the length, and it has this exhaust running the length, okay? If you can see on the price sheet, it's the same dimension, same exhaust. The biggest difference is that the exhaust is on the length versus the width, okay? The vectors have the exhaust located on the width of the 14 feet. The deltas have it on the length of the 24 or 27 or 30. I can't hear you.
Pressing this button here. I was saying that just this the length on here, and this would be on the width, and then it would typically be longer there. Okay,
Exactly,
okay,
exactly.
makes sense. Makes sense.
And we got that in different layouts. I could definitely share some photos with you. I thought I did at one point, but I could share you some photos with you of a Delta prep with
So here's so I guess my main question is, I mean, I understand that um it has more space to be able to absorb some of the dust particles and everything, but all in all, why would a customer choose a delta over a vector? I mean, it would probably give you what, an additional 6 feet worth of um an additional what, 6 feet, 5 feet worth of additional ducting, of additional filters.
um,
10 feet, well,
10
yes,
feet.
ten
It
feet.
would be 10 feet. And a lot of clients will like that because they have bumper or hoods, multiple pieces of the vehicle that they want to spray.
Mhm.
Now they have more of a vacuum along the length. A lot
Okay,
of clients will be, well, my shop is only 20 feet wide, but I have a 100-foot long length. So they will rather go with this one here. That's a Delta prep, but there's two of them side by side now. So the way that this shop is laid out, it has the prep stations. Um, this picture was taken where the spray booths are in front of them. So they will drive in the cars, do the primer, do the base coat, and then they will drive them into the spray booth. Why they didn't go with a tower vector? Because they wanted, again, that flexibility of driving the car in at any given angle. So they don't hit any towers or they don't hit any doors.
okay, clear. Let's take a look here. And obviously, um, the same filters that work for the Delta and the Vector paint booth are going to work for the Vector and the Delta prep stations, right? I mean,
That's correct.
okay. Um, LEDs as opposed to fluorescents.
That's correct.
If the customer's looking for some additional curtains and such, that wouldn't be a big deal, right? I know they tend to wear out after a while.
Yeah, so those are consumable replacement items, right? Replacing the curtains. Those could last you uh, 5, 8 years, depending the operator.
Mhm.
Um, but those are consumable wear and tear items that are good to sell um, or keep in contact with the client.
Okay.
Filters is a consumable item that the prep station needs as well.
stealth, I would assume, we move on to, and the stealth is obviously going to be the most expensive. This actually has needs duct work, or does it have a basement, or how does this one work?
So the way that that one works is it has, if you look at the bottom section here, all this is what we call an single row pit design, meaning this is one row, it's a single row pit design prep. The nice thing about the downdraft prep stations is that it's coming in from top and vacuuming down.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter where, this unit, this picture here is 35 feet long, 35 feet long, okay,
Hmm.
times two. You see one prep is here and then the other is here. Um, so obviously, if you could imagine, if you could click on this other picture here, you see how this layout is different. This will be your standard layout that you will see in the shop. You will have one prep here and then another prep doing another part or whatever, another job. And it's there, the operator is either primering or spraying, so the air comes in from top and vacuums down. Okay, on the prep station, on the vector prep, comes in and it has to vacuum to the back side
To
of
the
the
backside.
wall. Okay, so all that primer, as it's traveling, it dries on a surface. So it's drying as it's traveling in the air and it falls on the product itself. So the nice thing about the downdraft design is that it has the air traveling from top to bottom.
Very cool. And how much? What would be the dimensions of that single row pit in order to be able to? They're obviously
That's
going to have to get some construction work in there, right?
There has to be a lot of foundation work, yes, for those prep stations. That's where the price is drives it up so high. Um, like our see in our stuff, our pricing is single row design. We provide the grading and the filter pans. The client will have to hire a local contractor to do the pit.
What are typical dimensions of that pit? Is it 3 feet deep,
Um,
maybe 12 feet wide? What?
I'm forwarding you foundation specs, but it is 3 feet, 3 feet wide by 3 feet deep
Okay.
by whatever the length on this case could be 20, 24, 27, or
Well, the
30.
length could vary depending on how much they need it. Sure. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Clear about this. I didn't notice if this had whether or not it was single phase or three phase. That doesn't really matter in regards to the pricing, does it?
For us, it does not. We buy such a large volume through our vendor, Granger or WAC, that the pricing will not try to streamline it where you don't need to worry about if it's single phase or three phase and I forgot to charge you for it.
Okay. All right. So, um, Capone, you okay? You want to take a quick break?
Hmm?
You want to take a quick break? Feels like you're kind of like going through some heartburn or something.
Yeah, I need some water.
Sure, no problem, man. I'll um I'll pause it for a second.
Yeah. Does it?
I'm on mute. I do that all the time. So I believe that we're finished up with the stealth. Unless, of course, you got anything to add to this. I'm not sure.
On the stealth, well, you can notice on the pictures or the vector, the delta, and the stealth, a lot of clients do buy it in sets of two. If you notice, typically they will buy one prep or two preps just because they want to increase that productivity. And at the same time, um, it doesn't take a lot of shop space. If you notice, one at the end of the day, probably this shop has all his vehicles outside, and at night he brings them in and locks them in the shop inside. So they move those curtains back and then just start parking cars across the lane. So that's a big advantage of the prep stations, to have that extra spraying area, and at the end of the day, uh, move the curtains back.
All
If
right,
we
very
move
cool.
on to the bench, or in this case, we renamed it to Echo Prep. Um, if you notice, it's very basic. It has its curtain design that, if you see, travels in a track, so the curtains are able to wheel back and forth. Um, this one, we do make curtains um, to be in different color. Like if you notice, the other ones were in different color. These ones are in gray, um, red, but we try to stay standardly to that white, clear, and gray at the bottom. This is showing you an echo prep in itself, meaning the exhaust bank. You got your exhaust fan in the back, and then this is a typical scenario where you have a vintage building that requires special custom duct to leave the shop. So this will be um, a economical way of doing an additional prep station. This one here, you have clients that want to buy a booth, that they're originally purchasing a spray booth, and they want a prep station, but they don't want to spend for a vector prep or a delta prep. They want something extremely economical. So when we have a combo design where it's a multi-purchase, and we know how the booth is gonna lay in the shop with the prep station, what we end up doing is putting in the spray booth, and we put in this facade, this metal paneling facade, and that's where we hang the curtain. But you could see in the backside, we have the vector prep, I mean, not the vector, I apologize, the echo prep exhaust wall. And we decided to put in some extra lights for that bench booth. I mute.
The Echo Prep does not have lights.
The echo prep does not have lights, you're right. It's just the exhaust bank with the exhaust fan. Um, those
Is that
ones,
why it's 3 feet long? Is because it's just the plenum?
exactly. You
Uh,
go, if you go back to that picture, the second picture. So the way we look at things here at the factory is we look at or describe the dimensions when you're looking at it from the front. That's always what we describe the dimensions. So 10 feet wide, 3 feet long, meaning the depth, and 4 feet high.
okay. We
So
we we were scratching our head about that one, trying to put that into it.
So you look at 3 feet depth, 8 feet wide, 10 feet wide, or 12, and then four
Okay.
feet high, which is standardly two rope.
So let's say, for example, even if it was just a guy who wanted to make his own prep station per se, or maybe even make some kind of a custom paint booth where he was just looking for like some kind of a motor. We could sell him basically this Echo Prep station, and he would just set that up in his own little space or whatever, something of the sort.
That's correct.
Okay.
This is similar to what we were trying to quote your client in
Hmm.
Texas, um, where they have a dedicated room that they want to convert into a spray booth, and they need the exhaust box pre-built exhaust box with the filters and exhaust fan. Um, this is what you will sell to them. Um,
So the
this,
powder coating then is just this standard frame on the sides. It's just going to powder coat the overall plenum box.
yeah, I think this picture or this picture has it powder coated. This picture here. Uh, can you click on this one?
Which one are you looking at?
One, two, three, four, five, six. The sixth picture. So when they requested powder coated, they will it will be the whole box of itself. If you zoom into where the painter is located, it's just pretty much front frame and the top paneling. Right. A lot of clients, yeah, they are buying something basic as far as the exhaust system goes, but a lot of clients also would like to have it powder coated white.
Got it. Okay. Oh, there
There
it
you
is.
can see it
It's a better picture.
there. See, this unit is a multi-unit again. If you click on the last picture, you can see how many cars he has in there. He has a total of 3 cars, 3 exhaust banks, and 3 curtains. See, this particular shop um, wants to do volume because they have either Enterprise or Hertz Rental, a rental company that's feeding them, 10, 12, 15 units per day, so that they want to push out um, that many vehicles.
All right. Lot clearer picture on the um, on the units. What kind of space do they need to install one of these prep stations? I mean, is there a limit to what your what your ceiling height should be, or anything of the sort?
The only thing that we notice is the roof, the height of the building. So we have 9 feet plus 2 feet on every unit, right? So it's a total of 11 feet. Beyond that point, we see buildings that are um, standardly like 13 feet high. This vintage buildings back when they were built on the 70s, 60s. Um, but nowadays, buildings are tilt-up buildings, 20 feet high, 23 feet high roofs, which is not a problem anymore. But the biggest challenge is making sure that you have the right height. And if you notice, um, it has threaded rod that it's being supported from the roof. So we just want to make sure that when they're installing this or the curtains, that they have good roof foundation, or it's not deteriorating, or they're supporting it correctly.
How much weight should the roof be able to support at that point? Maybe two, 300 pounds.
That's correct. It's going to be about 500 pounds per rod or per support um, chain, um, because overall the unit it's only supporting those curtains and that facade over the length or over the width. Um, I mean, every building roof structure that I could tell, it's designed to support up to 2,000 pounds per square foot. So we've tried to equalize that weight on the length and the width of the prep stations.
All right, definitely a learning situation there. And I think that we are just about covered with the prep stations. Well, maybe one last question that I might have. Shipping of an item like this, it doesn't seem like there's too much to ship, or it's still there's actually quite a bit of dimension still. I mean, we're looking at a vector shipping from California to let's say South Carolina, good $3,000, right? I mean, what would something like this look like?
It definitely leaves on a crate, on a 4 foot by 10 foot crate, because you have the exhaust fan, motor, hardware, the curtains, um, and then the exhaust box and the duct. So it's living in one crate. Um, Freight is really it's kind of an item that always changes on price.
Right.
Right now, especially freight carriers are killing the market as far as rates go. I mean, I'm getting rates from here to LA, from Northern California to Southern California. We used to be paying, give or take, like $400 to haul a load or one of these units. Now we're paying up to $1,200. So a unit from California to South Carolina, um, it's gonna be in your 21, $2,300 range.
Okay, nonetheless cheaper. Definitely has a lot less to haul, but good to kind of have a range. It's about a third less, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Okay, very cool. All right, and to move on, I guess we would go into the open face, correct?
that's correct.
So we have open face powder coating and open face woodwork. I only see two. Okay.
Yeah, so on the powder coating, on the open face designs that you're running into the clients that you're bidding on, the type of client that will buy these units are woodworking facilities, manufacturing facilities of furniture, upholstery, um, grinding, aerospace, cleaning rooms, um, aviation will buy this type of booth. Um, the powder coating system, um, which is the one that you see in front of you, that one has two filters. One is what we call a pocket design filter. And the pocket design is those, it looks like a pocket. That's why it's called a pocket. So the powder will travel into that pocket, build up over a course of, I don't know, 3 weeks or so. And but it lets air stream through because that's the powder is building up, it falls off into that crevice of that filter. The second filter is the one that you see on top. That filter is what we call a cartridge filter or a HEPA filter, which it's exactly the same thing. It has pocket filters or pocket layers, um, and it's a 24 by 24 filter. So the powder coating booth has two different style filters, the pocket filter and then the one on top, which is the post exhaust. Okay. On the powder coating industry, there's two different style of spray booths. One is your spray to waste booth, which is the one you see here on this picture, and then there's your spray to reclaim that same powder. Okay. Spray to waste means you're spraying multicolors and you're not going to utilize that powder again because it's falling on the floor. Okay. Your spray to reclaim is I'm spraying the same color every single day. We only have one particular color, and I want to be able to utilize that powder that did not fall in the material. I want to be able to utilize it again over and over. So that will be your reclaim system. The difference on that is that the filter that you see that pocket in the back, now it's a cartridge style filter. Okay, and I can send you pictures of those um, so you can put on your website. But this will be your standard spray booth. It has the two side walls and your exhaust bank, and we could build it in different dimensions. On the pricing list, you'll see the width, the length, and the height that we could build this powder booths. And as you could see, it also, since it's classified as a spray booth or a powder booth, we have to have a fire suppression system installed in it. Yeah, the dimensions there, if you notice, we try to make the width standardly. So the width again is 8 feet wide. You could get this unit in 8 feet deep or 8 feet high. And as the dimensions change on the height and the length, we could still narrow down the width. Now, the biggest question to your clients is, what is the biggest piece that you're gonna spray? Is it 10 feet long? Is it 3 feet long? And that's where you start narrowing down the dimension on the width. I always ask clients, what's your biggest piece? Oh, I only do cabinet doors, or I only do small framing, metal framing that goes into a piece. So you narrow down the dimension of the powder booths or woodworking booths. Okay. What's that?
Noticing here on the price sheet, and maybe I'm just jumping the gun, but there's an IOF and a IOG. What might be the immediate difference of that? So here, for example, it says IOF, and
It's a
then down here it
typo.
says IOG.
A typo.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So that doesn't really mean anything. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So IOF stands for Industrial Open Face Spray. Industrial Open Face, IOF.
So pretty common. I guess the only thing is that, does this also require some kind of a permit or something of sorts? Obviously so, because you said it
Yeah.
has a top.
So under spray paint booths, it's a big uh, open territory of a machine. It could be your woodworking, your restoration of a classic car that they're probably going to use the booth once a month or once every 2 months. And then you got your big volume manufacturing facility that uses a booth daily, or your automotive collision center that uses it daily. They, since it classifies under the wording spray booth, anything or any machine will require a permit in your facility. Um, But what I've been noticing is your heavy municipal cities will require you a permit, and your light 2,000 population or 3,000 population town, they don't even know a spray booth exists. So they don't even require you to do one. Um, so it really, it's case by case basis. But if you're gonna sell a booth in downtown Brooklyn, yeah, you definitely know that they're gonna require you to get a permit of an open face booth or an automotive booth. If you are quoting a booth in the middle of Nebraska where there's only 5,000 people in that population town, they're not gonna be as stringent.
Okay. And it speaks here about a curtain system. Now, is the curtain system something that's already included? I don't actually see any pictures that would
Um,
show.
so we put in a description of a curtain system because if you notice in the front of the spray booth, um, it's an open face, meaning the front of it is open. Okay. Some of these clients will lay multiple pieces along the length of this booth or the width, and the operator will walk further away as he's spraying. So we get a lot of requests where overspray is coming out of the unit or it's not ventilating properly because of the condition of the filters. So there's clients that will request to enclose it or narrow down that working environment. So you will add another curtain to it. It's not necessarily that it's built as part of the unit. It's more of a bench or echo prep style design where you have the exhaust bank and then you have a curtain around it in the front.
that would be considered something optional, or is that considered something that would be part of the unit?
It will be considered something optional.
Optional. Okay. Um, LEDs, lighting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I guess my main question again is the difference between the no use and the reuse filters. Um, does that also become something that is through the filters optional? You can choose the one filter over the other. I mean, the frame itself is the same. It's just the way that the filters are set up. You can get one filter or you can get the other. Is what I
Correct.
understood about that. Okay.
Yeah, the open face booths are very um, like you have this client right now that he's asking for a more basic design um, or less inexpensive. The way you could get less inexpensive is by building the unit smaller, like an 8 by 8 unit. Um, but then it narrows down how much you're able to spray in that 8 foot wide. If you think about it on a cubicle or whatever it is, the bigger the cubicle is, the more space you have. Um, on a open face booth, a lot of woodworking shops, a lot of hobby shops, they would just get the more basic unit just to be compliant with your local code. Um, and they're not gonna grab a large unit.
So here I am looking at a woodworking open face booth, and the only difference I can really tell is the back filters.
Exactly. Exactly. This one has the filters similar like an automotive booth, fiberglass exhaust, 20 by 20s. And if you notice it will have to be ventilated through the roof. If you so that will go like a standard automotive booth. It has to be ventilated through the roof to let that odor of that paint material that you're spraying. If you go back to the powder coating booth, that's the reason why on the powder coating it has that cartridge filter on top. So this one does not ventilate through the roof at all.
Ah,
It
Uh-huh.
stays within that building. If you look at the picture down, if you scroll down, uh, there you go. That's probably the same picture. Yeah, that's how it will look in a shop. That will be your powder coating booth. It does not ventilate because the powder does not have any odor and it doesn't release any chemical when you spray it. It's just pure powder. So you have two stages of filters that are blocking that to control that powder. On the woodworking booths, that one has a lot of odor because they're spraying lacquer stains. So that's where you will have that fiberglass filter to trap that overspray, and then you have the exhaust to ventilate it to ventilate the odor environment. That's the biggest difference between those two,
Got it.
the filter and the ventilation.
Very interesting. Okay. All right. Didn't see that. And if I look at the price sheet, how would I be able to tell which one would be for wood and which one would be for powder coating?
You don't have that price sheet for powder coating. Yeah, we'll have to get you that one. Yes,
So this one that we're looking at is only associated with wood.
that's correct.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I I, I don't think I had a request for powder coating uh, on your guys's request for quotes.
No, I don't think like I mean one of the main things is that we also didn't know. I mean,
Right,
we wouldn't know that we didn't know the difference between them to
right.
be
No,
complete.
and I'll put in that price sheet right away. Yeah, no problem.
I mean, maybe we can go ahead because the way that we have it now, let's go ahead and take a look at what the way that we have it set up. Like I said, this is exactly what I was meaning to say. Nope, open face. So I mean, right now, the all we really have is the specs and the price. There's no pictures. There's no well, the specs of the name of the item per se, but there's no underlying specs or anything like that. And that's what I was more or less waiting for, so I can start to get an idea and say, oh, okay, this is a 16 by 12 by 10. This is going to be an open face. Well, basically, I guess you get the point.
Yeah, I
And
see
these are the
it.
things that we're going to start loading up and getting an idea of. But I, well, I would look at these numbers and I didn't have a clue of what it was. Not to mention also, now we're going to look and see if you can also get us the pricing on what maybe a curtain system would look like to put it on as an optional accessory.
Yes,
And I, the obviously, I think the fire suppression system might be something else that we're missing in regards to having this completed because the open face along with the prep stations to a certain extent need the fire suppression system, correct?
that's correct.
But I would assume that it wouldn't be like a complete fire suppression system. Would it be the same price or would it actually change?
On the open face, um, it will be actually a little bit more. The reason why it will be more is because on a spray booth, if you think about it, is contained in a room. It has doors, so it's more of an actual enclosure. On the open face, we have an open front where the fire could escape through that open front. So there is more uh, fire nozzles, and the cylinder is bigger than normal on the automotive. So I mean, when I'm saying a little bit more, I'm saying um, as far as dimension compared to an automotive, if you look at the picture for, or not the picture, but if you look at the price list for open face booths, the dimensions could get really big. I mean, um, I think it was page five. Was it page five? Yeah. So you could do an 8 by 8, or you could do a 16 feet wide unit, so double the the square footage. And or you could even go wider, like 100 feet. Like we have projects where they're doing big tankers and big beam columns that they want to bring in, and the fire suppression system could get extremely pricey at that point. So I'll get you fire suppression system cost per one, per each one, and I'll get you the pricing on the powder coating unit.
Very cool. All right, Napoleon. Always a pleasure. Um, so thank you for basically. I think we've been able to run down all the different topics that we had on the page, right? Because we already did mixing room, we did open face, prep station, cargo, we did both of the auto booths. Um, Fantastic. All right.
Yeah, so FYI, we are in the works of updating our website. We are on the works of updating the pictures,
Mhm.
um, detailed description, part numbers. So it's going to definitely help um, narrow down or understanding the product more. Um, we That's coming in the next couple months, but yes, it will be a bigger understanding as far
Yes,
as what
totally,
you're looking at and what you're selling.
totally. Yes, we definitely appreciate that. We count a lot for the customer to be able to kind of see where it is that it's coming from, also,
Yeah,
and they definitely like the fact that your equipment is coming from the U.S., made to order. Different options to be able to be cost effective, knowing that we have the installers and the different pyrochem people around to be able to do that. So yeah, all of that becomes very helpful, becomes very attractive for the customer to then move forward with.
yeah,
So definitely hoping to do a little bit more business coming into the future and bring in some of this other stuff along with it. Bring in the open face, the prep stations. One quick question, and I mean this may sound very I don't know, uh, un uneducated, but what's stopping a person from using either an open face or a prep station as if it was an auto booth? What would stop them? Why wouldn't
it's
somebody?
the cost. The cost. I mean, if you want to on an open phase that is similar dimensions as a prep station, like as far as the width goes, like 14 feet,
Mhm.
um, it will be either a $5,000 unit on an open phase to a vector prep that is 9,000, 10,000. So it would just be more of a cost factor or a budget number.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of the body shops actually buy open faces to spray bumpers, fenders, um, small door jams. Um, Give you an example. We have an account with um, Linex and Rhino bed liners, right? They spray out those bed liners at the back. They will buy an open face booth because they bring the truck rear and they start spraying the bed. Um, and then I have the same client, same Linex client, but in Orange County that he does, um, Orange County, California, that does bed liners, but he also sprays clear or a coating on top. And he wants a prep station. He doesn't want an open face industrial booth. He wants a prep to show off to his clients when he's spraying the product. So it's more of a budget number per client base, but it's good to have those two options right now. It gives you a better advantage when you're trying to win the client. Hey, if you're in a budget, we have this option or this option. they perform the same way. Um, you have the same performance, but a different price factor.
Perfect, perfect. And I guess just before we finish up, I remember looking at another website you had pointed out, and they actually said something in regards to a motorcycle paint room. Uh, have you in the past done something of that sort, or
Yeah, so it will be an open face booth. If you look at the price sheet, you could bring that up, and it will be like the 14 IOF 14 um, by 10, right? And the difference there is that we will put in the set of doors um, to be like an echo booth. Um, so we will get you pricing on a motorcycle or a parts room, we call it, but it will be starting in those dimensions.
all right, all right, good to know. So Napoleon, thanks again. I guess we can go ahead and finish up this last session of the product knowledge. And as we move along, I'm sure I'll come across some additional questions. And maybe in a few weeks or even in a few months, once I get enough of those questions, follow up questions, even rebuttals of such, then I'll continue to reach out to you. I appreciate all the help, really do, and continue to see if we can get the sales back on top.
Yes, sir.
All right, very cool. Have a great day. And